Good morning. My name is Max Fisher, and I assist with the church's breakfast program. And I'd like to welcome you to worship here at Trinity this morning. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any and all guests and visitors who may be among us this morning, and hope that the worship is a meaningful experience for you. Also, I'd like to thank John Cooper for serving as our leader. Blood pressure readings will be taken in the church office immediately following the service this morning. The sauerkraut supper is Thursday, November 1st. Tickets are on sale after the service or in the church office during the week. Volunteers are still needed to help serve during the dinner and to furnish pies for dessert. There are forms in the outer narthex to complete if you can assist in any way for the dinner. At this time, I understand Judy Monteleone has an announcement.
For the 200-year celebration. Here's just an example, and hopefully you'll be inspired to have the artist in you come out and do this. But we thought it would be fun for families, individuals, even businesses are going to be getting involved here in Worcester, and we're going to be displaying them in their windows downtown. And we've had some really good responses. And there is, if you want more information about it, we'll be telling you more about this. But there in the narthex, there's a form you can fill out if you're interested, or contact me. My information is on the form, and we'll be giving you more information about it. But again, welcome. There's a place for you here.
Thank you, Judy. Don't forget to sign up for the 200th anniversary dinner in the narthex. John and Susan Muskoff have a stewardship moment for us at this time.
Good day. Or as I learned to say, Guten Tag. John and I were delighted to represent Trinity at the UCC Forum held at the Haus Felix in Schroeder, Germany. It was an honor to be the first lay members of Trinity to interact with Stephanus, our partner church in worship. We thank you for that opportunity. Now I am paraphrasing a text that was printed in the History of Trinity Sanctuary windows. Stewardship consists of the 3 T's, which are the elements of time, talent, and treasure. When we commit these elements of our life to God, we are then truly one with God. As today's speaker for Trinity Stewardship Campaign, I'll be talking about how we saw Stephanus and other Ohio partner churches in Westphalia live the 3 T's of stewardship. While in Stephanus, Kevin, Ella, John, and I sat in their mission committee meeting. They discussed and acted upon environmental issues, social issues, the same types of issues we have here. They were using their time and talent to oppose the destruction of an old-growth forest to make way for a coal strip mine. Church members were participating in a walk across Germany to promote global warming awareness. They were supporting a Bread for the World drive to feed the hungry. And they also attended a ceremony where Pastor Zabina received an award for being the driving force behind making the town of Horsham a fair trade city. Our host, Nilo, had also worked to make Washington a fair trade city. And for 15 years, she has used her talent as a puppeteer to talk to kindergarten children about sexual abuse and to talk to older students about domestic violence. One day, we traveled to Wittgenstein to visit Stefan Burke and his wife Uli to see how they use their time and talent to operate Abenteuer Camp. In English, this means adventure camp. We toured the facilities and some of us went llama trekking. Later, we enjoyed an evening meal at the coffee house market that their church operates in town. In the city of Bielefeld, we heard an inspirational performance of Martin Luther's hymn, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." The Neustadt Marian Church used their treasure, 900,000 euros, that they saved over a period of 25 years to purchase this magnificent organ. We attended the Christ Church in Schwelm for a Sunday service and a lunch that included a very yummy pizza soup. They are using their time and treasure to continue to restore one of the steeples that had been damaged during World War II. As fundraising efforts, they are selling snow globes with a replica of the church inside and also selling medallions with images of the church imprinted on them. During the past 3 years, they have collected 17,000 euros in donations from the lunches that they serve. John and I were able to observe how the German partner churches are using the stewardship talents of time, talent, and treasure. Hopefully, Trinity will have a successful stewardship campaign to be able to continue our programs and renovations. Thank you, or auf Deutsch, danke.
I'm going to say a little bit about another place we visited in Bielefeld called Bethel, B-E-T-H-E-L. If you like to Google things, Google Bethel, Germany. This was a place that was established in 1865 to take care of people with cerebral palsy. People couldn't care, not cerebral palsy, epilepsy. They specialize in epilepsy, and over the years they took on any kind of learning disability or disabled people. They had a period of time during the Nazi era in Germany where they resisted the euthanasia program that Hitler advocated. He wanted to euthanize all handicapped people. So they did that in Bethel. And there's no way I can compare that to our breakfast program, but the point I'd like to make is that they've been serving people for 151 years. Our breakfast program has been operating for 25, and I'd like to have people continue to support the church through their stewardship, and someday maybe we can have them serving people for 151 years. Thank you.
Thank you, John and Susan. I see there's another announcement. Come on down. Are there any other announcements? Let us then be in a spirit of worship.
Good morning. Will all who are able please rise and join in the call to worship. You who live in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shadow of the Almighty, who say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust.
Thank
Please take a moment to extend a warm welcome to those volunteering.
As our service of worship continues, we invite children to come up for a word. All right. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, doing pretty good? All right. You know, I understand that this month is what? What month is this, you know? October, very good. And I understand, I'm having trouble with my board. I understand that there is a holiday in October. What holiday is it?
It's
Halloween. Okay. Halloween. Okay. Good. Good. That Halloween comes from the church, actually, because we think about all the people who lived before us, and we call those people saints. And so we had All Saints Day, and it became All Hallows Eve, and now it's Halloween. So how many of you guys are going to go trick-or-treating? Trick-or-treating? You guys go trick-or-treating? You go trick-or-treating? Maybe you go trick-or-treating? You guys like to do that? What do you like to get from trick-or-treating? Candy. Candy? Paul, you like candy? All right, so do I. Pretty cool. All right. How many of you have already decided what you're going to be for Halloween? Yeah? You guys want to say it? What are you going to be? What are you going to be? A what? A witch with a green face. Okay. You're going to be a mime and you're not going to talk the whole time. Harry Potter. All right. That's pretty cool. You got the thing on the head and everything. All right. All right. You guys know what you want to be for Halloween? Right? That's pretty cool. You got like a dragon head and everything. Oh, boy, that's going to be cool. Okay. All right. That's it. We'll figure something out.
Background. She's background.
What?
Yeah, costume.
What?
We're ready. Background.
Batgirl.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
ready. Dad's not, but I'm ready. Yeah.
He's Batman? Or?
She is.
Oh, she is. Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. Well, I hope you guys have fun. It's important for us to think about who we want to be. And in church, we have All Hallows Eve, like next Sunday. We're going to remember a whole bunch of really neat people who were a part of our church. And when we come to church, we find out all sorts of good things from other people. And we learn how to do different things. And when we come together, sometimes we say, man, that person was pretty cool. I'd like to be like that. So while you guys are trick-or-treating, think about what you want to become, who you want to be. And today, before you go, I got little flashlights for you, so you guys can take a flashlight with you. Go trick-or-treating and head out and consider what you want to be. So before you go, let's have a word of prayer. Lord God, this is such a wonderful life that you've laid out before us with its changing seasons and holidays that we can enjoy with our family and memories that never leave us. We ask that you bless each child here today and watch over them, help them have a fun-filled interesting experience at home. May you continue to watch over them as they grow in the stature of your Son. In whose name we pray. Amen. All right, thanks for coming up, guys. You want to take one, grab it in the little bag here. Take home. They glow in the dark too. I understand. So. All right. Oh yeah, take one for your sister.
The scripture reading this morning is from the book of Mark, chapter 10, verses 35 to 45. And it will be the disciples. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit one at your right hand and one at your left in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." And Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink, you will drink, and the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the other 10 disciples heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. So Jesus said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wishes to be first among you must be servant of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as ransom for many." May God bless the reading, the hearing, and the understanding of this holy word. Amen.
So I just wanted to say that originally my plan was to give each of you a piece of clay and make me something. But I decided that I want to do that because God put it on my heart that since I teach in a school that is at 100% poverty level, that they needed the clay more than you did. But while you are listening to the song, The Artist, I want you to think about how God has molded you and made you and is making you holy every single minute and every single second of the day.
I give to you my heart.
So today we have a piece of scripture about greatness. Now, we live in a time where there is a motto, "Make America Great Again," which is influencing many of our lives, without a very thorough definition of the word great. And not a very thorough definition of how that has to do with the future. But Jesus gave us a definition of greatness. And greatness has to do with our being a servant and being a part of a community that appreciates the gifts that we have to offer to other people. So here's James and John in our story today. One thing you got to know about James and John is that Jesus always liked to give people nicknames. You know, Simon became Peter, right? Sand became the rock. And so Jesus had a nickname for these two brothers. Boanerges. And Boanerges means something like sons of thunder. Now what would you do if someone called you a son of thunder? What would you imagine that meant? Well, it did mean that. Because there's a time in the ministry of Jesus when some people didn't really accept what the disciples and Jesus were doing. And James and John said, "I want to call down lightning from heaven and destroy them." Boanerges, these guys were sons of thunder. They were bold, they were brazen, and they were self-interested. So they come to Jesus. "We want you to do for us whatever we ask." Now, when was the last time somebody did that? Hey, right? Right? Your kids, and they got a birthday coming up maybe or something. "We want you to do for us whatever we ask." They asked for the best seats in the house. They asked to sit at Jesus' left and right and be with him in the kingdom that is about to come. They're bold about it. And they see the meaning of life as ascending to a place of power where you have control over other people. And not so much servant leadership. So I have this friend, and I call him Bullet. Hey. All right. This is Otto. And I call him Bullet because he's kind of silver. And last Christmas he thought he belonged in a manger. And so I took a picture of him in the manger. I call him Bullet because as soon as you open the door, there's this gray streak that flies in. And when you open the door to go out, there's a gray streak that flies out. And he cries. Now he is our cat, but we are his human, right? And sometimes I say that my occupation is a cat concierge. Because you know how that is when a cat wants to go out, you gotta let him out, right? If you look closely, you can see the devil in his eye. But we play this little game, right? Because we have a relationship. And we care for one another, right? We're sick, he comes lays on us, right? He knows that kind of stuff. But he's kind of aloof. But our relationships cause us to be willing to serve and to do things that we never would do. Think about all the things that people do for their dogs. Think about the things that you've done for your dog in the cold weather, out on the street, because we serve the people we love and that we are connected to. And so here is James and John, who are the fishermen, who the other 10 are envious because they want something above them. They want to be a couple years ago a bumper sticker, and also these t-shirts that you can have made up. And at the top of it, it's got a picture of, or a portrayal of Jesus. And it says, Jesus loves you. And then if you look at the bottom of the shirt, it says, but I'm his favorite. You've seen that bumper sticker, that shirt? Now our faith sounds like that sometimes to people on the outside. We have these discussions in our family, right? About who is the favorite and who gets service and who doesn't get service. Now this struggle of favoritism runs right through every family in the Bible. From Cain and Abel to Esau and Jacob, through David and his brothers, through Joseph and his coat of favoritism. I had a very interesting conversation with a man who was in recovery in a 12-step program. And he said, you know, before I went into recovery, I used to look at somebody and I would size them up. And I would decide if I was better than they were or if they were less than I was. And then I would know how to relate to them. And he said, but when I went into recovery, I realized that we're all the same. And I treat people like my equal. And I think we see something of that in this passage today, because this grew out of the Roman world. And we live in an America where privilege puts us in a different position. And so we have to work against the forces around us that cause us to see people above us or below us, and to look with God's eyes. Now we can become sensitive to unfairness, but we have to especially become attuned to ways that people who are viewed on the bottom are treated unfairly. And that's a part of the mission that Jesus is moving these guys into. So there are some people in the Bible, some leaders in the Bible that are called great. David, Moses, John the Baptist, Jesus. And there's a theme in the Bible, it's called the reluctant prophet. And the reluctant prophet theme often goes like this: who am I to go and to speak these words to the people? And then they are thrust into a situation, they're thrust into the spotlight beyond their own intention. It's something that they don't want to be recognized for, but because of the times that they live in, and because of the injustice of the times, they come forward and they do something about it. Now, in my mind, that would include Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Germany. And I want to introduce you to a relatively new figure that I've come to know. Do I know who that is? Does anybody know that quote? I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. Great quote, huh? You guys know that guy? Is anybody named that guy? Tagore. He was a friend of Mahatma Gandhi's in India during the time of the revolution. And he wrote the Indian national anthem. He was a very famous person. He actually had been knighted by the British, and he had a place of privilege. And when the revolution started and the British began to be more oppressive, he gave up his knighthood and all of the honors that went along with it because he wanted people to practice equality and equanimity. Tagore. Some good history there. He actually also won the Nobel Prize about the same time that Gandhi did. So our call is often not of our own making. It has to do with the times that we live in. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink? Jesus says. It's not the cup of power, but it's a cup of love. And the cup of love means service. And sometimes it means suffering. And sometimes sacrifice. Remember in the great scene in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus is praying, and he says, remove this cup from me, but not what I want, it's what you want. You drink from the cup to make a deal. You drink from the cup to seal your fate. You drink from the cup to seal a deal. Now, I got to thinking about this drinking from a cup stuff, and it's really pretty prevalent in our society. God has three sorts of servants in the world. Some of them are slaves, and they serve for fear. Others are hirelings, and they serve for wages. And the last, sons and daughters who serve because they love. Now, when is it that we really work hard for other people? Let's see. Alex Ovechkin, anybody? Anybody know Alex Ovechkin? Washington Capitals? Okay. Look at how many times. The cup, Stanley Cup, what other sports have cups that you drink out of? You ever see these guys drink out of this cup? When they win the hockey championship, just pouring it down. They do it because they want to bring everybody along. They do it for the community, right? They do it as a celebration to seal the deal. I tell you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until the day I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom. These are the words of Jesus at the Last Supper. The cup is a sign of community, and the common cup is a sign of the deal that we all make with one another to love one another and to live together in community for the common good. I'd like to get this cup. I saw it on sale, First Communion. People always kid me because at breakfast I stand with a coffee cup in my hand in the corner and talk to people. But I can tell you it's community. I can tell you that it's community. I can tell you it's making a commitment to other people for the common good. It's sharing around a table. I kind of doubt that a church gives this away. I think it's a joke. What's the famous lyric? There's
Doug Anderson.
Huh? Doug Anderson, come on. Huh? America, right? And what's the line? This is for all the lonely people. Thinking that life is passing them by, I'm here to say something. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup and ride the highway in the sky. Right? You know that song? Remember that song? Huh? What? Out of your area. Oh, Doug. All right. Oh, you didn't guitar. Okay. Think about how often that song was played. Think about how it brought people together. How it talked about isolation. It talked about loneliness. It talked about forming community. It talked about a vision for the future. Grace showers us daily, and we fail to see it. Opportunities for community are present in every moment, and sometimes we miss it. We had Sabina and Manuela here a couple weeks ago, and they wanted me to tell you that they genuinely enjoyed the time they spent here on Sunday and through the week, worked with a lot of our breakfast crews, met a lot of people. And they were impressed by the people who had good intentions. and good people that we have here. And in German, they have this saying, I think it's probably more prominent in their family. They say, alles gut, alles gut, all is good, all is good. What are we living for? We're living for ourselves. We're living for that seat, that position. Some of us live for the memory and the heritage of our parents. Some of us live for the memory and the heritage of the faithful people that have gone before us. But we, as human beings, have been designed for community. Love, power, and justice. And the greatest power in the world is love working through justice. So greatness isn't about how many people are serving us or how many people are under us, but how many people are being served by us. And if there's one thing that we've lost in making America great again, is a service-minded deficit. A community-minded deficit in America. That we are all in this together. And we live in a time of radical self-interest and greed set free. And we have to remember that Jesus calls us to end isolation and self-interest and move into a community mindset. So who are the people who end up sitting at Jesus' right and left hand? Who were they? It wasn't James and John. On the cross, it was a couple of guys that were criminals. And they became community with Jesus, even on the cross. And Jesus knew that they were bringing us along to teach us compassion. So those of us who want to be first have ourselves all tied up in knots because we want a reward, because we do things because we're afraid. We're afraid that we'll be rejected if we don't do something, or we're afraid we'll be punished because we don't do something. But Jesus redefined the reason why we serve. We serve because we love. And Jesus redefined what it means to be great. Because the world will always have a different standard, just as the Romans had. This story that we have today was the main story in Martin Luther King's great sermon on the drum major instinct. This was the text for it. He talked about the disciples wanting to be great. And he said everybody can be great because everybody can serve. Desire to be great is not a bad thing. Desire to be great is a good thing. Just remember that true happiness and true rest and true greatness is found in serving. And anyone can be great, but everyone can serve as we honor our connection to the others in the community. Amen.
As we continue with our service this morning and we begin to prepare our offering, we remember that we are called by God to serve, and service can come in many different forms. And supporting this church and the missions it supports is one way to do that. Let us now prepare our offering.
you go forth from this place, remember who you are. Remember your call.
Remember that Christ has placed his hope